Nothing lasts forever, Kelly. Life is full of changes. And you gotta be ready for them and take them in stride when they come.
Happy Dominion Day!
Hello.
Welcome to week 49 of Misha and Dianne Watch Santa Barbara. It's Monday, July 1st, 1985. Now in Canada, Dominion Day was renamed Canada Day starting in 1983, so this is only the third Canada Day. But, as usual, the U.S. programs do not take a day off on Canadian holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we had an episode of Santa Barbara, which I guess I would have seen originally. Nick catches a rabbit for dinner, but Kelly says it's too cute to kill, and in the end, Nick can't kill it. Then a mountain man shows up, and they end up having dinner with him. I guess those must be more of the rations that the farming couple gave them. And he tells a story about how his wife died when she was about as young as Kelly, and then he left the city to live in the mountains. That's about all from him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we'll see him again, if that was just something for them to do while they're on the run, or if he will play a part in a future story. Kelly plays a portion of If Ever You're in My Arms Again on the piano, which is interesting since she has no memory. A helicopter flies overhead and Nick grabs the lantern to signal, but Kelly stops him and says she's not ready to go back yet. And he, I guess, agrees because he doesn't go out, and the helicopter gets further and further away.
Mm-hmm.
They end up kissing, and Kelly says to him, "Nick, I want you to make love to me." So that's something we kind of seen coming.
So this version of Kelly seems to have a much stronger sex drive than she ever had with Peter.
That's true, because years seem to go by. Augusta, not in person, just implied, tells Brick that Julia has gone to Vienna with Jack. So Brick wonders who he can borrow money from, since both he and Amy have none. Amy tries calling her mom, but apparently she has no money, and that shocks Amy. But actually, John Perkins had said that when she kicked him out of the house months ago, that, there's no money. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a hard time keeping this house going.
And if we remember that Marissa works in a school cafeteria, so she wouldn't have a really high-paying job.
So Brick thinks, well, Warren probably doesn't have any money, and ends up calling Minx for the money, which is actually the first person I would have thought of.
Mm-hmm, me too.
Yeah. Santana finds the note from Gina and brings it to Cece. Mason shows up at the Andrade house, and Rosa is the one that informs him that Gina has taken Brandon. Mason goes to the Capwell house and immediately is assailed by Cece, who assumes that he's helped Gina kidnap Brandon. And he says, "Brandon's my only link to your money, Dad. Why would I want him out of the picture?" So Mason tracks down the cab driver, and it's played by Robert Pastorelli, who we might recognize as Eldon from Murphy Brown. He is working at the Ocean Cab Company, and he tells Mason that he took Gina to the Oasis Motel, and then Mason pays him not to tell anyone else. Mason goes to the motel and tries to convince Gina not to leave town with Brandon. He has a lot of arguments in favor of her turning herself in. But she thinks, nope, Cece will have me committed for life and take Brandon, so we both have to go. So she appears to have talked Mason into helping her. She needs to borrow his car, and he agrees. And so she brings Brandon out to the car, and while she's out, Mason picks up the phone and calls the Capwell mansion. And he's talking to Ted. I think he says, "Let me talk to Dad," as Gina comes back. So she picks up a vase and goes to smash him over the head with it. In Vienna, Faux Jack wastes no time in trying to get Julia into bed, but she says he's moving too fast, and it's a lot faster than he used to. And in the end, after they argue over that, she tells him to get his own room. Mm-hmm. He says, "What am I going to tell the concierge?" So Faux Jack makes a call for the real business that he's in Vienna for, and he is expecting the rest of the consortium to arrive tomorrow for their train trip to New Staeland. So, I think Amy and Brick are going to have to be quick if they want to get to Vienna in time to just happen to spot Jack and Julia getting on the train and sneak aboard the same train somehow, because they've got to fly all the way over there, and then I don't know if the airport and the train and the hotel will all be near each other, but presumably it will have to be a big coincidence if Brick and Amy are going to get on that train to New Staeland, which I assume they will. So it'll be interesting to see how the writers jigsaw puzzle that logistical problem.
So I guess we are to assume that the consortium is perhaps some sort of little group of mercenaries and investors who are planning a takeover of New Staeland?
I would think so, and I guess if they're arriving from different locations, maybe they're from all different countries or something.
Yeah, and you know, this sounds extremely far-fetched, but it actually wasn't that long ago, probably a decade or so ago, when a little group tried this in, I think it was Equatorial Africa or something. So even though this is obviously a soap opera and a very, fantasy-like storyline, this pretend republic that's there, or monarchy, I guess, that's there to be taken over, it does have a little bit of reality to it as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to meet the other members of the consortium when we're on the train. Probably take a day or two to get, well, things are small in Europe, so. Santa Barbara teen scene, summertime fun time. Santa Barbara teen scene, summertime fun time. Santa Barbara teen scene, summertime fun time. Summertime. Christy, of course, is at the Capwell mansion all day while things are going on, and at one point she's asked to answer the phone, and Steve Bassett is calling in his role as assistant district attorney, and he wants to talk to Sophia. And Christy kind of tries to hide her identity from him when she realizes it's Steve, but he recognizes her voice. And, he comes over to talk to Sophia, and Christy hides from him the whole time. And Ted's kind of wondering why he's hiding. Ted knows, that's her brother. So, summertime. Steve tells Sophia that the DA's office is ready to move ahead with the case, so he's aware that Jack Lee has suddenly left town for a couple of weeks, and that she's either going to have to get another lawyer or ask for a postponement. So, that makes sense, and I guess that we had talked about what was going to happen with that case while Jack was out of town, and I guess it seems unlikely they'll move ahead with it, unless Cece grabs another lawyer to fill in for a couple of weeks.
Well, and I assume that Faux Jack is not coming back, or not planning to. That was my assumption.
If the coup goes well.
Yeah.
Santa Barbara teen scene, summertime fun time. As Steve leaves, Christy actually runs after him and chats with him on the stoop, so it seems that her concern wasn't so much talking with Steve, but just, I guess, talking to him in front of the Capwells and them knowing their relationship. I mean, Ted does know, but maybe she's worried about that. She asks, so what were you talking about? But he says, don't worry, it wasn't you. So Steve says, I won't even tell people that we're related. And Christy says, we're not related. You're not even a blood relative. You're just a stepbrother. And Steve says, then I guess you won't mind if people know that. And Christy says, don't ruin things for me. Then Steve says, you can't run from the past. Sooner or later, it's bound to catch up with you. I don't know why you want to run from people that love you, and I do love you, babe, always. So this kind of, I think, makes me think they had a romantic relationship, which also ties into something weird that Theda had said to Christy, I know how you operate, or something like that. I'm thinking that something happened between them.
Yeah, I want to say I'm getting a bit of a flowers in the attic vibe from them, but although they're not actually blood relatives, so I guess that wouldn't really apply, but I was definitely thinking the same thing myself.
He does seem a lot older than her. I mean, he's easily Mason's age.
Yeah.
And she's, Ted's age at best. So That's a huge age difference. Almost as much as the Peter and Kelly age difference. Summertime. So that's it for our Monday episode, and a reminder that this is going to be a short week for us. So we've only got a Tuesday and a Wednesday episode to come. Presumably, we will see whether Gina and Brandon make it out of town before Mason regains consciousness. When we watch episode 239. See you then.
Bye-bye.
Welcome. Oh, I didn't mean to startle you. You see, I very seldom get guests up here. You surprised me. Well, what can I get you?
Aside from my personal concern, I do have a job to do.
This is a vacation. We're supposed to relax and have fun.
About 20 pounds of it.
Well, you know, we haven't been away alone in a long time.
I don't know if I should expect you to feel sorry for Nick. I really don't. But I did think that you deserve to know what's going on.
Oh, Major. Well, I can see why my daughter finds you so charming.
Thank you.
We have to travel through a terrible dark this evening. You could lose your way. You're the only one who knows if you're ready.
Just don't tell me what you did for me is out of the goodness of your heart.
Because you don't want to give up on me. You don't want to give up on anybody. Except yourself.
Stop.
You are a kind man, mate. And that kindness has meant that you've let life roll over you too many times. You've been kicked in the teeth.
Actually, it was a bit lower.
And here I'm asking for one more chance, one more time. And you just don't know if you can take it.
Meanwhile, now that I'm a corporation, I'm going to have to appoint company officers, aren't I?
Well, yeah, that's customary.
Good. Mason, I want to appoint you as president. Oh, please don't think I'm kidding. I'm not.
What's with the tux? Don't tell me they stooped so low as to invite you.
Thank you. I have other plans for this evening.
Oh, Mason. Once I thought you were my worst enemy. Now you've turned out to be my best friend.
Welcome back.
Hello.
We finished episode 239 of Santa Barbara, which originally aired Tuesday, July 2nd, 1985. This is the second of the 3 episodes that aired this week. Nick carries Kelly to the bed, and they kiss, but then he changes his mind. He tells her that he has to think for both of them, which does make sense, since her brain's been wiped out. Kelly decides to put on a show for him, finds some more old clothes, and gets the curtain up on the stage, and plays some music, and does a couple of numbers for him. And they exchange I love yous, and then they're chatting about romantic things like Nick's time in Vietnam, and all the horrible things he had to photograph, while Bad Moon Rising is playing in the background, the creepy version. In the end, Kelly decides it would be nice to stay up until sunrise and watch the sunrise. Well, Nick falls asleep, but Kelly manages to stay awake and wakes him up in time to enjoy the sunrise.
You know, can you remember when we were cleaning out Mom's attic? Just how horrible everything was. I mean, can you imagine what those old clothes must be like?
Yep, I can imagine. Can't see why Nick would be interested after that. Everything would smell so terrible. Mason spots Gina in the mirror, about to smash him on the head with a vase, and he whirls around, and the vase goes flying. He ends up talking Gina into checking into the hospital. He convinces her that, Cece would try to put her in jail for kidnapping. So, she also gives him her pills, so he really thinks she's, wants to try and kick that habit. Mason calls the house and makes an arrangement. In exchange for Cece not pressing charges, they will bring Brandon to the Capwell house. And they do so. And at first, they are shocked by multiple armed police officers. But Cece said that was in case Gina didn't live up to the bargain. Doesn't really quite make sense. So anyway, they get rid of the police. And Brandon meets Christy, his new governess. Santa Barbara teen scene, summertime fun time. So I assume we will have plenty of scenes with Brandon and Christy governessing all over the place, since, Ted doesn't live there. Well, I suspect Ted will be hanging out at the Capwell house a lot anyway.
Yeah, I think so. We might see, it'll be kind of interesting to see if she brings him to Mason's apartment. And as far as we know, Mason is still working with a lot of prostitutes, so I guess that can be interesting.
Yeah, we haven't heard about that for a while. Summertime. Gina tells Cece that she is going to sign herself into the hospital, so she doesn't need him. But then he says, well, I'm paying. And so in the end, she agrees to let Mason and Cece take her there, so that she can have Mason to make sure Cece doesn't try anything. Cece can be there to make arrangements for the payment. She and Santana argue again about Brandon, of course. Gina says, who was there when he was 3 months old? And who was there when he had chicken pox? Which Santana doesn't really have an argument against, since she did give him up for adoption. Ted and Christy kind of flirt a little bit in the background, and then he calls Lakin and makes plans to see her, which Christy's not too happy about. Later in the evening, Cece and Sophia talk about Brandon. Cece says, oh, people tell me I made a mistake with Channing, and now I'm doing the same thing with Brandon. But Sophia seems to enable him. And they end up kissing, and then they both agree it didn't mean anything. But I don't know if that's necessarily true.
It's been really interesting to see the evolution of Sophia from being Lionel's sort of secret love we've seen in flashbacks, and the whole Dominic character, who was very sort of sinister and was very wrathful and vengeful, and now we have sort of the fully formed Sophia, who, as you say, is very sort of enabling and very much of a peacemaker.
That's true. She's constantly trying to find the middle ground between various pairings of people who are not getting along. So she's actually, good for Mason in that way, because she's sort of tempering Cece's wrath at various times. I know Gina said last time, well, let's leave Cece to Santana and Sophia to fight over, but I wonder if once she's kicked the habit, she might change her mind and decide she does want to keep Cece after all.
Or just seeing how her interests align with keeping Cece, if nothing else.
Yeah. It's not quite clear where Stockman's money is floating around exactly, although he did have a lot of debts, so I wouldn't be surprised if Cece pulled one of those. Oh, we used all of his money to pay the debts, he has nothing. But then his trustee probably took a hefty commission.
And then, of course, there's Brandon, and as far as we know, Cece has adopted him, or at least has some sort of legal relationship with him, so I don't think Gina would just walk away from that.
No. They probably have an equal right to him now, so, one where, what's good for Gina is also good for Cece, legally. Augusta tells Minx about Lionel's problem. And when Lionel shows up, she says, he looks healthy. Perhaps it's your problem. Lionel's very annoyed that Augusta told his mother about their problems. I can't imagine anyone would be too happy about that. Later, Augusta hires some women to serve Lionel champagne and caviar or hors d'oeuvres of some kind. And then she does a fan dance for him. But it doesn't have the desired effect, and he ends up running out of the house. Brick tells Minx all about Dr. Renfro, and doesn't mention Jack Stanfield Lee's name. Just says, for Minx's protection, just says it's a powerful man, so they can't go to the police.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Minx lends or gives them the money to go to Vienna, plus a little extra for emergencies. And then before Amy and Brick can check out, Chuck and James find them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bit of a runaround because Amy's out of the room when they first arrive, and Brick manages to knock them both out and jump out the window. And then when Amy shows up, Chuck's hiding in the hotel room, but James is in the hallway. But Brick shouts, "They've got a gun, run!" And Amy runs, and Brick follows. Then James follows. Then Chuck comes out of the room and follows. But the next time we see him, they're safely at the airport. So they are on their way to Vienna.
It'll be really interesting to see if Chuck and James opt to follow them to Vienna.
Mm-hmm. Or decide to try and find Nick and Kelly again.
Yeah, because those seem to be the only two henchmen that
and
Jack has.
With Renfro dead and Jack in Vienna, there's no one really left in Santa Barbara to follow along those plans. Well, Mort's Mattress Emporium is hosting the late movie, The Count of Monte Cristo. So, at every commercial break, Lionel comes in, and he's in a studio doing his live intermissions, as they were. And Frank shows up and brings him some liquor in a thermos. And Lionel ends up confiding in Frank about his problems with Augusta. And Frank is quite shocked because of Lionel's reputation. And then as Lionel has more and more to drink, he starts telling the viewers during the break about his problems with Augusta. And in the end, Frank brings him home drunk. And Augusta has witnessed all of these intermissions and is horrified that Lionel has shared their secrets with the town. And then telegrams start to arrive from people who watched the broadcast with recommendations from them to Lionel and Augusta, people who have had the same problem. So the storyline is not just kind of a one-day thing. This is actually going to be stretched out to include the whole town, I guess.
It's really interesting to watch the evolution of this the sort of latter part of the relationship between Augusta and Lionel, because, when they had their big fight, Augusta was pushing him away, and she was flirting with Jack Stanfield Lee, and then of course she was flirting with Frank when she was blind, didn't want anything to do with Lionel. And then when they had the whole thing at San Simeon, she kind of thawed to Lionel, and now things have kind of flipped a little bit, where she's trying to seduce Lionel, but Lionel is not really wanting to go there, probably because of his physical problems, but she's kind of pursuing him at the moment.
That is it for the episode. Interesting that they didn't mention Julia to Minx, or vice versa, because when they talked about Vienna, you'd think Minx would know that Julia's just gone to Vienna with Jack Stanfield Lee. I don't think Minx has had a scene with Julia at all yet.
No, and actually when you were asking me before what cast member might be replaced, I know that Minx Lockridge is recast at some point in this show. So I thought, oh my goodness, we haven't seen our first Minx for a while. Maybe it's her, but she popped up again. So.
Yep. Someone could get replaced at a moment's notice.
That'll be exciting.
And I don't know why I wrote "Does she know Renfro" there. No idea. No. And the other thing is, no one seems to have found Dr. Renfro's body in the Perkins living room yet. I don't know if it's the same day, but presumably Marissa is not working as it's summer holidays, and you would think she might come home from wherever she is out She has no money, so she wouldn't be shopping. And spot a dead man in her living room, and probably a broken window from the gunshot that Chuck shot through the front window that has already been replaced once when Peter Flint threw Joe Perkins out the window.
Well, maybe that's a little bit of fan fiction to be written. A story with Marissa and Jade and Danny finding the body and going on
we'll
adventures.
see if anyone ever finds it. I guess Minx hasn't heard about a body being found. So, yeah, we'll see if they forget about Dr. Renfro's body, just like they've forgotten about a few other things over the year.
Yeah, I'm going to be most interested to see how much they remember about Gina's pregnancy.
That's true. And be interesting to see how much of a set they build in Vienna for Rick and Amy to spot Julia or faux Jack. Presumably they will see them get on the train and then be on the same train. Now, the inside of the train we know they can do, but I doubt they're going to build a giant European-style train station. Maybe they'll build a little cafe in the train station, and Rick and Amy will be sitting there wondering what to do next, and they'll say, hey, isn't that Jack and Julia getting on a train? And then the next thing you know, they'll be on the train.
Or repurpose a piece of the Orient Express set or something like that.
Or the hotel lobby, if they happen to check into the same hotel. I don't know if you've borrowed money from someone, if you would check into the fanciest hotel in Vienna, knowing you're going to have to pay all that back, or that you've got a limited amount of funds. So it seems unlikely they'll be in the same hotel. That's difficult to believe. But we will probably see tomorrow how everyone ends up on the same train to New Staland when we watch episode 240 of Santa Barbara. See you then.
Bye-bye.
All right. So, have you given some thought as to who might be the surprise guest star? The biggest star on NBC?
On NBC, let's all be there. It must be NBC, let's all be there. People come together in the moments that they share. On NBC, let's all be there. On NBC, let's all be there. It must be NBC, let's all be there. People come together in the moments that they share. On NBC, let's all be.
Don Johnson.
Don Johnson. We're going with Don Johnson from Miami Vice. We will see as we watch episode 240.
Drank my drink. Goldilocks? Augusta? Lincoln? Minx?
Happy Halloween from Misha and Diane. Watch Santa Barbara. Happy Halloween! I'm Jack Stanfield Lee.
Or Wilford Brimley.
Welcome to Misha and Diane Watch Santa Barbara with special guest star Jack Stanfield Lee. Misha and Diane have watched episode 240 of Santa Barbara. Originally aired Wednesday, July 3rd, 1985. Now, Mason, Maggie, and Warren meet with a guy who worked on the oil rig that day. He says the guy to talk to is the one who burned his hand, whose name is Morgan Malone. But he's changed his name. So it's going to make it a little bit harder, I think, for Mason to find the all-important witness. This happens at the Orient Express, this meeting, of which several occur there today. At the Lockridge Mansion, Augusta reveals that her friends are laughing at her as Lionel collects the ingredients for one of the more promising virility potions that he's gotten sent by telegram. Although Augusta drinks it by mistake. So Lionel comes in, sees his drink is empty, and says, "Who drank my drink? Goldilocks? Augusta? Lakin? Minx?" Augusta ends up attacking Lionel in the stables. My elixir, he realizes. But then he also realizes that it works, so he mixes up another batch. Now this involves taking the horse, Pandora, out and collecting the mandrake root and all the other ingredients. He downs the second batch, but unfortunately it has a different effect on him. It makes him drowsy, and he ends up falling asleep, much to Augusta's chagrin. Eden gets a call, and here we have the imminent appearance of the biggest star on NBC. Eden gets a call that a VIP is checked into the Capwell Hotel. It's Nell Carter! And Eden mentions to Cruz that they've had another burglary, so she'd better get down there and make sure that Nell Carter puts her jewels in the Capwell Hotel safe. Cruz Castillo, of course, comes with her as he is investigating that case. Ms. Carter tells them that she's only ever had her jewels stolen when they were in a hotel safe. She says they just took the whole safe. So she hands the her jewel case to Cruz and says, "Here, you watch it while I go out on my date." And she's got a date with an old beau that she hasn't seen in years, and she fears that he is balding, and when we see him, I think they go to the Orient Express bar. He looks very much like Damon Wayans. And I can't find any evidence as to who played Nell Carter's ex-beau, but could it have been Damon Wayans? What did you think?
Could be.
He does have a rather intriguing pattern of baldness that might explain Damon Wayans' future shaved head. So it could be him. Anyway, they end up dancing the night away, and at one point Cruz mentions they've been gone for a couple of hours. So, Cruz and Eden are stuck in Nell Carter's room with the jewels, and Eden hears the tap dripping in the bathroom. And she cannot stand the dripping faucet, so she gets Cruz to look at it, and before you know it, there's water geysering out of the sink, and both Cruz and Eden get soaked. While they are thus distracted, the jewel thief shows up in the hotel and locks them in the bathroom. And the jewel thief is wearing like a full bodysuit and a ski mask. But I would say that it looked like a woman. What did you think?
I think so.
Well, the jewel thief gets away with Nell Carter's jewels while Eden and Cruz are locked in the bathroom. They can't get out, and because they're soaking wet, Cruz takes his shirt off. Eden appears to be naked, but she hides herself in the bathtub from Cruz's prying eyes. And Cruz takes the opportunity to shave with what we theorized were not Nell Carter's shaving equipment, but possibly some complimentary hotel shaving equipment. Anyway, Eden takes the opportunity to get some digs in at Cruz. She says, "I don't know why you're even wearing your ring still." And he points out that she's wearing her engagement ring still. And Cruz says, "Well, if you want it, here you go." And he throws it into the tub. And Eden ends up crying a little bit when she sees the ring lying in the tub. Santa Barbara teen scene, summertime, fun time. Steve Bassett shows up at the Orient Express for lunch, and he is at table 5, and Christy and Ted each have 6 tables, and Christy is assigned to the group that involves table 5. So there must be at least 12 tables at the Orient Express. Christy tries to get out of serving Steve, but the head waiter forces her to wait on table 5. So Steve confirms to Christy that he was lured to Santa Barbara with the promise of prosecuting Sophia Capwell. So he then suggests they get a place together, which she does not particularly care for. Once again, Steve being overly friendly, I think, with his stepsister. Mm-hmm. She points out again a couple of times that they are not blood related, which just seems to spur him on. Mm-hmm. Summertime. And the man pretending to be Jack Stanfield Lee tells the torturer to kill Jack. And as the torturer is about to slice Jack open with a sword, Jack tells him, wait, I still have more information. I've been hiding things about Julia that she would know. And, if the guy pretending to be me doesn't know, Julia will figure it out. So the torturer, of course, says, all right, tell me now. He goes, no. I'll tell you the things as you need to know them. So Jack is basically playing for time, trying to stay alive until hopefully Julia figures out that the man she's with is not the real Jack Stanfield Lee. Do you think Julia will figure it out?
I think so.
I hope so. I mean, they're all on their way to New Staland, so the opportunity is there for some or all three of them to burst in and save Jack. But they're going to have to figure out, first of all, that faux Jack is not really Jack, and also try and figure out where Jack is. But, maybe they figure if little baby Johnny is in New Staland, maybe the real Jack is there as well. Julia puts Jack off again and suggests that maybe they should wait till they're on the train. Faux Jack, not too happy about this. She also tries to get him to tell her the names of the high-ranking people who are going to meet them on the train from all different countries. He does not reveal that, but he will say that their next stop is Lieberbrook, I believe was the name of the place. Brick and Amy arrive in Vienna and go to meet Minx's friend, Herr Bissenfuss, who just happens to be the maitre d' at the restaurant where Jack, faux Jack, and Julia are having dinner. So they spot Jack and Julia and they quickly hide. Herr Bissenfuss puts them into the pretty deserted courtyard seating area and says that he thinks he can, when they tell him, the whole story, that man in there kidnapped Amy's baby, he thinks he can get them a free meal, and so he tricks faux Jack into sending back the wine by putting some salt on the glass, so diverts that sent back bottle of wine to Amy and Brick's table, and also brings the wrong meals to Jack and Julia, and those get sent back, and of course go directly to Brick and Amy's table. So they do get a free meal, paid for by faux Jack, who actually says, yes, I'll pay for both of them, just bring me the right meal. So when Jack is making a phone call, they call Julia over, and they fill her all in on everything, and she, it's quite a bit for her to take in, but they exchange the numbers. They give her the number of Herr Lieberbrook, and they agree to meet again at the restaurant later. So I think they still have a few hours before the train leaves. So I guess they'll make some kind of plans, or Julia will tell them what train they're going to be on. That's probably the most important thing. So she does tell them that after Lieberbrook, they're going to an island of some kind. So I think this is the first indication that New Staland is an island nation. So I don't know if there actually is anything in Europe like that in reality that's an island nation.
Not in Eastern Europe, I would think.
Well, I think they're probably in the West if they're in Vienna. So. And that is episode 240, and this is a short week because tomorrow is Wimbledon. So Nell Carter, presumably, will find out that her jewels are missing and not be too happy with the Capwell Hotel. And maybe we'll finally get on that train to New Staland. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you, Jack.
Well, you're welcome. We hope you have a good Halloween. This will be we'll be putting this up online probably on the 27th of October. And of course, Halloween's at the end of this week. Not in 1985, of course. We're still in July, but in the year 2020 when you are presumably watching this. So we will see you next week as Misha and Dianne watch Santa Barbara. See you then. Who are you supposed to be?
I'm Jack Stanfield Lee.
I'm Jack Stanfield Lee. You do look a bit like my cousin.
Well, I do have a cousin, but he doesn't look anything like me. In fact, he's a lot better looking than me. And, in fact, he's a lot better than me at most things.
Okay, then. You're Jack. Why don't you show me where Julia Wainwright hit you with that vase?
I just saw this note from Amy. It looks like I've got an appointment with a Mr. Joe Haskell. So I got to get going. I'll leave you to sort this out on your own.
Happy Halloween. From Misha Dianne, watch Santa Barbara.
Did you watch the Mount of County Cristo on television tonight?
Happy Halloween from Misha and Dianne, watch Santa Barbara. Happy Halloween from Misha and Dianne, watch Santa Barbara.